Hey, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I've been on the lookout for a while for a new lens to be used specifically for my YouTube videos. I know it might sound ridiculous that I want to buy a lens specifically for this purpose, but I want these videos to look the best that they can, and there's no doubt that a buttery smooth, blurry background isn't oh so compelling. I think I might have found the one. Welcome to my review of the Fujifilm XF16mm F1.4. When researching some contenders in the Fuji lineup, I came across comments like, "This is the best lens that Fuji ever made, this thing is special," and even Nathaniel Drew saying, "There's something magical about this piece of glass." Those are pretty bold statements. I was intrigued. So Fuji sent me the lens for the weekend, and I'm going to be using this review to decide whether I'll be making it a permanent feature of my lineup. This will not be a technical spec-heavy review of this lens. Instead, I'll be talking you through my experience as well as some demo stills and video footage as well. Okay, so let's first address the reason why I'm looking at this lens as an option in the first place: YouTube videos. To be honest, since I've had it, I've filmed 5 whole videos. And that for me is an insane amount of output for one weekend. And obviously I've done this for the reason that I've put it through its paces. I have tested it for the use case that I think I'm going to need it. And I've been able to see while doing this that it thrives in this format. It's quite comfortable using it at this kind of distance. It's not even an arm's length away from me, and I can see my camera right in front of me, access all of the features and functions. Not to mention, of course, that smooth, buttery background, and that's exactly what I wanted. It's quite flattering as well, the focal length, and obviously if you haven't investigated that, you can look at basically how your face looks at all of the various different focal lengths. And 16mm, certainly for an APS-C body, it looks pretty good. This is, I think, a 24mm equivalent to a full-frame camera, and it looks really, really good. For comparison, here's what my 16 to 80mm f4 zoom looks like in the 16mm focal length. I'm sure you'll agree, although it doesn't look terrible, it certainly doesn't quite have that beautiful look of the 16mm f1.4. So in terms of YouTube videos, it smashes the ball out of the park. I love this lens for that purpose. Next up, let's talk about the build. Of course, it's got that really low aperture of f1.4, and for this reason, it's pretty big. It needs to get a whole lot of light into the sensor, and that's understandable. When you compare it to my favorite prime lens of all time, the 35mm f2, you'll notice the difference in size. That said, it still is a pretty nice size, and I don't think it's that heavy either. The lens is also weather resistant. Now that's really great when you have a body like the X-T4, which is what I have, that's also weather resistant too. You can go out and about, and if it starts raining or if it starts snowing, which happened in London a couple of weeks ago, I had a lot more confidence going out in the snow, knowing that the kit that I had was able to handle those types of conditions. And this is something I hadn't really considered too much before, but now that I've been in that use case and needed gear that could take me through that, I really do appreciate having that feature. It also has a pretty neat trigger into manual focus, where you essentially pull the ring backwards and unlock a whole world of extra markings, and of course trigger it into the manual focus mode. Now this is a much better way, in my opinion, of getting to manual focus, and while you're there, the manual focus experience is much better than I've had on any of my other Fuji lenses. It's just a whole lot more accurate, it feels much better, the ring is more substantial, I really like it. And I've been using manual focus more and more as my film journey evolves, especially in video. One of the other applications that you can kind of use this lens for, and something I've been dabbling in a little bit recently, is street photography. If you'd like to check any of that kind of stuff out, do go and give me a follow on Instagram. I'll see you there. Here are some of the street photography shots that I got on this lens. Next is probably my favorite genre of photography, portrait photography. Now, I wouldn't typically look at this focal length 16mm for portrait photography, but of course that low f-stop does open this up as an option. And I did give it a bit of a test and I was quite impressed. Here are some of my portrait photography shots that I got with this lens. Lastly, let's talk about video again. This time, not YouTube footage, but other B-roll type footage. So I went into the park and had my go at a couple of things with this lens. Here are some of the results. Now it's that tricky time where I need to conclude and give you my thoughts and opinion. To be honest, I really wanted to like this lens. From all of the highly contested reviews that it's received from people that I do look up to, I really wanted it to be this amazing thing that was going to change my life. And for the YouTube footage, for this talking shot footage, and that's I guess the reason I was looking at it, it is amazing. I will not doubt that it is something special. But in terms of everything else, I must be honest, 16mm is not a focal length that I'll be looking to. I noticed a whole lot of chromatic aberrations when I was outside in the park, and even just finding compositions that interested me at this focal length, it's not a focal length that I love or naturally gravitate towards. That said, the portraits I do think were absolutely beautiful, and of course those wonderful shots of the parrots in Hyde Park would not have been possible without this kind of focal length. So that is a unique application of this lens, but not one that I'll be using very often. For me, I don't think it's going to make its way permanently into my lineup. It is an expensive lens, so I would hope to get some other use cases from it, not just YouTube video. I think I might have another look at the 23mm F2, which will of course mean I'm going to have to be a little bit further from the camera, but I still think I might get a little bit more bang for my buck in terms of focal lengths that I'll actually use in portraits, in street photography, in video, all of that kind of stuff. This lens is a niche lens. It is very expensive. It has a beautiful image, in my opinion, when subjects are right up close against the lens. In terms of everything else, it's not my first option and not the first thing I'm going to be grabbing when I head out of the door. And for that reason, it's not going to be a permanent fixture in my lineup. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it. Please do let me know any of your thoughts or views in the comments box down below. Of course, hit subscribe if you'd like to catch more from me in my channel in the future, and that notification bell as well if you'd like to get notified when I post a new video. That's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.